Throughout many decades, my family has maintained possession of a statue and ensured its proper upkeep. The story is that it is from a long-lost great-grand relative who, among other things, helped found the regional government and our family's fortune. The statue stands, but the importance of the prominent man who stood there long ago has faded. I don't know why, but half of my family is completely enamored with it. It's still highly valued. We think that one side of the family has a gene for mental illness, while the other side accuses the other side, the half that I support, of having the same. Like this peculiar sculpture of a man that none of us know or knew, a mental condition has been passed down through the years. In order to emphasize my point regarding the extraordinary care and attention my family has bestowed upon it, I feel compelled to mention that it is an unusual object. I should highlight how this statue, this stone guy, is treated as if it were alive, in stark contrast to the crucifixes that adorn the home. As if the stone were a living, breathing organism. As if it were a child, they cared for it, washed it, adorned it, and, to be honest, almost worshipped it. If the colorless, dead eyes in the sculpture could observe and enjoy these intimate occasions, the obsession-like lunacy persisted for years, bringing the statue to family affairs. I thought someone in my family, maybe my wacky, beloved aunt or uncle, was going to feed it a sandwich like a baby doll. But there was never anything that outrageous. Years later, as my eyes were tired and my glass was full of wine, I observed something strange in the statue's face. It seemed like the face had aged a bit to me. Now, I don't mean crumbling, I mean the normal aging of stone with its cracks and weathering. Its hairline drooped, and its face seemed wrinkled, as if it had aged like a man. It baffles me how this could occur. I suppressed this observation from my family because I didn't want to hear any criticism or anything absurd. Later on, I would even hide the statue from them. I, too, had fallen prey to the insanity before I realized it. I would fix any flaws and maintain it spotless after studying its surface for hours in solitude. It didn't take long for me to figure out that I was now its main caregiver, if not its sole caregiver. How shackled I was by my own unspoken rules, it was like being sentenced to prison. The bounds, the restrictions, the amount of time devoted to that dead rock, or so I believed. I was the only one left with the statue when my immediate family and the mansion's last occupants had all passed away. In the dead of night, I could swear I could hear its huge hooves pounding against my property, as if it were taunting me to open the door or allow it inside. I am aware of the gravity of the situation and have learned my lesson not to let evil in, as cliché as it may sound. No evil can ever enter our souls or secure domains unless we give it permission to do so. Staying strong is essential. My resolve must not waver. I finally understood my family's obsession as time went on. This thing was alive, and I couldn't stand to keep it a secret any longer. I wanted to get rid of it, but I was afraid to destroy it lest whatever evil it contained escape. Maybe it wanted to be destroyed. I am not fooled, and I will not let it out of its prison cell. So I started donating a lot of art that belonged to my family to various institutions, such as hospitals and universities, in the hopes that I would gather the courage to remove the statue from our home someday. My public displays of charity were just masks for the underlying dread that drove my behavior. She was exceptional, unlike most women I know, and her kindness attracted the attention of a prominent doctor and his beautiful daughter, who is my age and a trailblazing scholar. The woman, whose name is Victoria, was present at a charity event where we shortly met. On numerous occasions, I was able to enjoy a memorable evening with her thanks to my skillful courtship. The events that followed make one of these instances particularly noteworthy. After a long night of wine, romance, and, to be really honest, a few small painkillers, I needed a break. Hearing the stone guy knock on my door jolted me out of a dream and into a disturbing nightmare. It was too much for me to ignore. My forefathers' insanity and terror overcame me, and I let out an erratic barrage of cries for help. I felt compelled to do it. My fiancée, Victoria, was already in a state of terror before I did this. Then she insisted, no matter the time of day, that I accompany her home. But I didn't do anything of the kind, and she went on to threaten to postpone our wedding and report me to the authorities for allegedly holding her against her will, as if it had been a kidnapping or a fake arrest. Even after I rescued her, she obviously didn't believe me. She had shamelessly informed my remaining and distant relatives of what happened that night and my reactions, so even though we never saw each other again, her influence in my life continued beyond that night. She originally said that the opium had made me naive and too sensitive. But I know this isn't true. I've been around vices before. So she concluded that my behavior was the result of a sick and troubled mind. I was aware of her ties to her father, the head of a mental institution, and his connections to the police in the area, so I knew they would pursue me soon. Against me, they would all work in concert. I am well enough to know her manipulations and to finally rid myself of the stone man, so I donated him away. Victoria, through her letters, said she was simply trying to assist me and wanted me to get well. She promised to visit me again once I healed. As long as it was random and anonymous, I didn't care where it went. It would prevent my family from reclaiming it and also prevent me from changing my mind and asking for it back. I was sent to an insane asylum by my family for reasons I do not yet comprehend. Either they wanted to get even with me for removing that evil idol from our old house, or they were planning to steal my parents' money so they could keep what little of my inheritance they could. They think I'm paranoid and have fantastic hallucinations, and they attribute it to the stress of being alone or inherited bad luck. If they do know, I will tell them the truth. Just a few weeks ago, I came to this asylum, and now I am writing this from the library here. When I arrived, I was shown to my accommodation, which was in a square building with a courtyard in the middle. I can see over the courtyard and into the rooms on the other side from my barred window, which faces the inner courtyard where my room is located. I discovered it there. Nothing can go wrong. The specter that nags at me. At first, I wondered whether I was going insane and saw it in my head. Perhaps I was appropriately devoted, I thought to myself. I see now that I'm not. The art therapy room, I was informed after my pleading for an explanation, was the recipient of the anonymous gift of the statue. They laughed and made fun of me in disbelief, so I automatically claimed to be the donor and asked them to remove it from my sight. That accursed statue has started all over again. As far as I am aware, it moves in the wee hours of the morning. Because I left it here all alone, it wants revenge on me. It used to live amidst flowering gardens, lively parties, and ballroom dances, but now it doesn't. You may wonder, how am I so certain? Oh dear, I can see it's playing up again. Maybe it's just hard for me to see its precise whereabouts in the pitch blackness of night. Outside my door, I discovered a collection of stones and rocks. It detects my presence. The guards try to deflect responsibility by claiming that the building's age and disrepair are the result of insufficient funding. The statue, on the other hand, is always right where it was when the sun came up, in its designated spot in the window. I swear it's like they're staring at me without moving an eyebrow or showing any kind of emotion. That desolate window perpetually displays its icy, awful silhouette. We're both crammed into this tiny place, and it must know that my time here is limited. I've had enough. Either he is a long-lost artifact from my family tree, or I am its heir apparent. There is only enough room for one of us to hold the heritage, and up until my death I will not permit inanimate hands to hold it in place of living, breathing ones. During my housekeeping responsibilities today, I managed to steal the key from the art room. Because they were engrossed in their advances toward the floor nurse, the attendant failed to notice. The moment to act is now. If I am unable to do my duty, you will be informed of the reasons and circumstances. My family worshipped this object because they knew it was cursed and dreaded it just as much as I have feared it in the past, I assure you, even though I cannot describe it completely. Until next time, my esteemed audience.